America, my name is Osei-Frimpong. Today we're going to talk about AI and job transformation. And I just am now getting to understand how good AI is at some things. For example, I didn't think it'd be able to interpret images as well and be able to explain jokes in images as well as it can. But yeah, you have AIs that can like do art interpretation. Now it won't be great. It'll be accurate when it's accurate. It'll be fine. And and if you put that stuff in ChatGPT, it can be eloquent, but which also describes a lot of young people's interpretation, both fine and, depending on the mechanics, eloquent, without actually being particularly profound. And that's what you get from AI. So AI can now reproduce the hackneyed interpretation of, a random 20-year-old, which means that it is heck for universities and college. College is trying to grade work because, honestly, all the papers that I wrote could be written better when I was, in undergrad, could have been written better by AI, and to the extent that they would have came up with the same ideas and wrote them more eloquently. And to the extent that my job was just trying to understand the arguments in the text, I think AI does that job at least as well as like students who are learning how to do that job. Now, it's not going to be accurate all the time, but it does change what pedagogy looks like, because the 5-page essay could be written by ChatGPT in seconds, as opposed to being analyzed for a week by, a student. And it's just too tempting not to expect them to not do that. To not say to ChatGPT, I have a 2-page essay, please turn it into a 5-page essay. It will do that. And it will do that at least as seamlessly as, the 19-year-old who does that. So what do we do to combat that? Now, at the university level, what you need to do is there just needs to be more oral work. Students need to be accountable orally, be able to recount the arguments, rehearse the arguments in the text to you, to make sure that they understand the arguments. Like that, we just need to bring back that culture. And the same with Blue Book tests, but Blue Book tests are dicey because you're dealing with handwriting, which is, it's a hard thing, but bring back the Blue Book tests and bring back oral examinations. There's no way you're going to get honest papers now. Not at the level you need them, or honest assignments. So we're just going to have to change that, or expect it all to be written by AI. And you think you can know, but you're not going to know. You're not going to know. You're going to suspect, but it's going to be almost impossible to prove. And just go with oral tests. We're an oral test culture now. In the humanities, just go with the oral test. The paper no longer works. Or if you're going to do paper, it has to be handwritten. In Blue Book, be able to resuscitate not give back life, but rehearse the arguments that are in the text. Right? So there's also a lot of copy that's written by both lawyers and just kind of hack administrators that AI can do. Because it can do this simple interpretation work. And at the more complicated level, if your job was to be a hack, AI can do that hackery. Now you need someone else to evaluate the hackery. But if your job was to be a pure hack, AI can do that, can take over that hackery. And I think that's not something that we should lament. It's something that we should embrace and then understand that, one, humans shouldn't be hacks. And two, there's a job of overlooking AI to make sure that the hackery doesn't get out of control. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Right, because AI can do the job of many, many human hacks. A lot of the strategic decisions that were really just kind of plugging and chugging, AI can do that. And especially since, like I said, it can explain jokes. It can evaluate images and tell you what's going on in a picture. Not all the way, but it can give a reasonable interpretation of what's going on. It could actually, like I said, it can explain a joke. In a way that we need to think of AI transforming our life in the same way that Google transformed our life. Not something, oh, come say hi to the people. Come say hi to the people. All right, this is my daughter.
Hi, people.
Hi, people. How was your day?
Good.
Was today your last day of school?
Yes.
Yes.
It was so much fun.
It was so much fun. All right, let me finish the show, and then I'll come and we'll hang out, okay?
Okay.
Kiss my forehead. Oh, my bald spot. All right. I love you.
I love you, Daddy.
All right, I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
All right. So AI is going to transform a lot of our jobs. AI is going to transform a lot of our jobs. If your job was to be a hack, and a lot of you had a job that was to be a hack, and that's on you, or that's on like your chosen profession. But if your job was to be a hack, then AI can do that kind of hackery. If your job was to be a hack, even a hack preacher, AI can whip out a sermon. Give me a sermon on this text that lasts for exactly 15 minutes. AI can do that. You can be a hack preacher. You can be a hack anything. Now, can you evaluate the hackery? Not really. And AI doesn't teach you how to. Oh, it might give you a rubric to evaluate the hackery, but that's already that's just a different level of hackery. It can't actually do that quality of thinking, but it can imitate someone who's doing that quality of thinking, and then it's going to be up to your thinking to debate AI. Your account has to be better than the AI's account, because the AI is like playing imitative chess, right? When you beat a computer, when you play a computer at chess, you're not playing another person, but you're playing a computer that's acting as if it were a person, and your job is still to beat that person. So if AI comes up with an argument, you need to be able to beat the argument. You can't just ignore the argument because the argument was like emerged from artificial intelligence because you don't like the provenance of the argument. So we need to think about AI changing our jobs, not taking them away. Oh, and so far as it takes away jobs, there are a lot of jobs that probably shouldn't be done. Like there's a lot of mining jobs that as soon as robots take care of it, we should let the robots take care of it. Same with like sugarcane farming. It's just violent, awful. Like as soon as the machines could do it, you should let the machines do it. There's a lot of work that's like that. And then there's work that's on the margin. And I think it should be like referred to committee. For example, I was listening to some guy talk about hair and makeup for movies. And they were like, there was actually a lot of aesthetic decisions made up on hair and makeup. Where if you digitize that and then have an AI do the digitized rendering, you lose an aesthetic quality that comes from the judgment of the hair and makeup artist, right? And so, he gave a pretty compelling case, and I would be tempted to go with that case. But the idea that AI doesn't have interpretive capacities, or that it will always be unable to explain both art and jokes, means that we underestimate how bad people are at explaining art and jokes. Like AI can do that. AI can do 80% of like interpretive work because we have a culture full of hacks. Or there might be hacks in one thing and not hacks in another. We have a specialized culture, and AI is a very good generalist. Right? So you need to be a specialist to be able to tell you where AI is wrong. But since most people are talking about things that they don't necessarily know, but because they have to do a lot of other things, our life is general, not specialized. It's as good as people at most things, unless you're talking about a specialty. So we just need to understand that AI is very good at, just because we are so bad at most things that are not our specialty, that we need to up and change our game, which I think is possibly appropriate, and then also protect the idea that people should have good jobs that can contribute. So if you appreciate the way I contribute to the quality of your both intellect and your character, go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com and kick in $5, $15, or $50 a month, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I do want to do a show on antitrust and how that kind of sneaks into our life. Antitrust is like the idea that markets need to be competitive, and that trusts, that means groups of producers get together. Groups of producers get together and you know, distort the market to the degradation of the consumer is something that needs to be busted. So I want to do a show on like everyday antitrust issues for like the everyday entrepreneur, which we think we're all going to try to be, and take it from there. Thank you for your time, and I will talk to you at another time about the show on antitrust. Peace.